Great. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. During your lunch break or maybe dinner break, wherever you're at. So we're Power BI DC user group. So we're a bunch of data and analytic enthusiasts. So we consider ourselves early adopter of the Power Platform, Power BI included. So we're completely volunteer run. On the call, Shannon, it's me and Rocio, and as well as the Jiang, our co-host of the group. What we're trying to do here is get everyone to come in, learn and share best practices around BI or analytics in general. And the Power BI user group, we're part of the global Microsoft Power Platform communities. And here are the links you can access the Power BI community from Microsoft. And this is the meetup link directly to our DC user group. And I think for a lot of folks, you're probably already familiar with the Power Platform. It consists of a Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agent. It's all run on kind of the Power Platform that Microsoft hosts. And for every meeting, we try to share opportunities that are open. Also, if anyone on the call have any job opportunities they want to share, or they're looking for jobs, feel free to speak up. And here are a few opportunities that are currently available. So Shannon, I don't know if you want to talk about some of the opportunities that you have pasted here.
Yeah, thanks, Z. So I just posted the information in the chat for the next 3 slides, but I am going to speak to them quickly as well. The first opportunity that we have available is actually a teaching position, and this is for an organization called Data Society. If anyone is interested, this is a role that I was formerly in, and I really enjoyed teaching with them. So if you have questions or you want to just talk about the position, you're welcome to reach out to me at any time. If you're interested in applying, you can email Marav. She is the co-founder of Data Society, and she is expecting to hear from us. So please feel free to reach out for that. The next opportunity is with Humana. I learned about this from our friend Victoria. She has been attending our meetings for about the past year, and she always brings us great opportunities. So this one is for a Power BI engineer. It's always really interesting to see the difference between the words, developer, engineer, analyst, how people couch these. But it looks like this one is more of an engineering type role. Talks a lot about automation and functional reporting requirements. So anyway, if you have questions about this one, I don't know much, but you're welcome to reach out to Victoria. Did I just hear, Victoria, are you on the call? No, okay. Next opportunity is from our friend Tyler. He has been a member of our group for years now. This is for a Power BI developer that also knows SQL. And again, it's interesting, the role name is developer, but if you are interested, the skills that are required for this position are SQL, Power BI, and ability to navigate complex business logic. So anyway, if you're interested in this position, you can reach out to Tyler directly. And with that being said, that's it. Those are the 3 job opportunities that we have today. I do just I'm going to pause for one moment if anyone has questions or if there are any job seekers that wanted to just speak up.
I just posted in the chat, but my company is looking for a Power BI developer, and that is the link to the job. It's a contract position, and I'm a contractor on a different project, so I don't know too much about the day-to-day, but happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Awesome, thank you so much. So lots of open positions right now. So if anyone is looking for work, don't be shy. And if you are not currently looking for work or not actively looking for work, but you want to talk to folks about these positions, feel free. Do it. It's always good to keep those doors open. Thanks, Keisha.
Great. Thank you, Shannon. Let's jump on to, so we usually post different events that's coming up. For today, we're just kind of putting in 2 local user groups. One is focused on data visualization. Another one is a Power Platform, so mostly focused on the Power Power Automate, Power Apps. And here are the links to each of the groups, and they usually post really good events. Some of them actually in person now, given that the weather is getting nice in DC area. So definitely recommend you guys visit those sites to look for events that might be interesting to you. And here are some additional resources from Microsoft directly. I think over time, Microsoft has created a lot of really good content to once get started in Power BI, but also there's more advanced content that's available today. So here are the links you can go to look to study up on Power BI. And to the main event, so Emil, just want to give you a quick intro to Emil. Emil is a Power BI solution expert who has 15 years of experience in Power BI with focus on Power BI specific projects. And he has co-founded a consulting firm with his wife, Katie. Today, Emil will demo a Power BI dashboard related to financial freedom and talk about financial freedom in general. So Emil, I'll let you take over.
Thank you very much. Let me switch on my camera so you can see me.
All right, let me stop sharing here. There you go.
Okay. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen.
Yep, we can see it.
Excellent. So thanks very much for having me today. My name is Emil, and today's presentation is Financial Freedom Power BI Dashboard. Essentially, the goal of the session is to kind of utilize what business intelligence principles offer to us and go through a dashboard that I have developed for myself, which I think is worth sharing because it gives a very good insight into a financial situation. At least it gave me a lot of very constructive insight. Not to say I was very pleased with it when I look at it for the last 10 years, but at least it gave me a lot of good insight. And the second part of it is how to understand it, because obviously we have information, we can visualize it, we can analyze it, but we also need to understand the fundamentals of financial freedom. So I will cover those. And for me personally, when I went through financial freedom kind of concepts, they were very logical to me, but very new. They were very simple, but still very new. So it's worth covering them because together it gives kind of this builds the big picture. Now, when it comes to the motivation for doing that, in my particular case was in 2018, actually, I have had a bit of an issue. I've been diagnosed with a mental health disorder called schizophrenia, and I lost my contract at the time. 6 months later, I had another episode and lost another contract, and I've put myself in a very bad situations because I had to recover from the illness and I was not able to work. So for me, during that period, I had to really think, what is the impact of my finances on my life? At the time, I didn't even know if I would be able to work anymore. I was completely disabled for a certain period of time. So one of the things I will focus now on during the webinar is also the financial cushion, which I will talk quite a bit on that. But for me, it was a particularly important period of time because it was a great motivator to finally sit down and analyze my financial situations and come up with things what I can do to prevent certain things in the future, especially that in my case, I've got a risk of another episode and issues. I have to be in a positions where I feel very comfortable with what I want to achieve. And one of the things to overcome all the issues is to become financially free. As simple as that. If I've got enough money coming in from passive income, even if I'm unable to work after a certain period of time, I will be fine because I'll have the money. And if I can work, that's brilliant. I will be still enjoying the life, hopefully for a few more years, for as long as I can. So we'll cover in this webinar take-home expenses, savings, financial cushions, investments, which will be usually is a very new thing to people to when it comes to starting financial freedom, and passive income analysis. So after the webinar, you will get Power BI dashboard, so you can use it yourself. If you've got already some kind of a system, either an online system or an Excel spreadsheet, that's brilliant. And optionally, you have an option to use the dashboard and visual things and analysis from a different point of view. You will get the slides and webinar recording. Agenda will do a quick introduction about myself. We will cover key performance indicators of the dashboard. We'll cover the dashboard itself and how to use it to get to perform your own analysis and get some useful insight for it. So about us, you've already heard a little bit about me. My name is Emil Glowina. I specialize in BI for the last 15 years. That's what I've been doing. And since 2015, I specialize in Power BI. Katie is my wife. Currently, she's looking after our 2.5-year-old boy. And she does Power BI development. I have written a book and published it this January 2021. It's available for free on Amazon. It's a career with Microsoft Power BI. So I've written, you can finish it within an hour and a half. So it's a very light read, but it's full of facts, full of tips, and people enjoy it. So far, 5-star reviews. Not too many reviews, but 5 stars. About our company, so I co-founded it with my wife in 2011, specializing in contracts. We offer Power BI consulting now globally on any sites. So it's a new offer that we have, which is a combination of expertise, flexibility, and great price. And that's we came up with a product called Flexi Team. So it's a bit different. Instead of a dedicated resource, you get a team of developers, and we do it in a way that gives a lot of benefits when it comes to expertise and the price of it. So it's a very interesting offer. And just to give you an idea of that, typically in the UK, at least, I'm not sure about the US, the typical rate for a contractor is £600 a day. Our local team is a little bit less than that, 25% less, and we also have global team where we have people from Asia and other countries where we offer it for 50% less, or you can calculate it as 100% more. So a very good offer, and that's what we've been advertising for the last several months. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. We do post daily LinkedIn posts related to Power BI or career or some kind of facts. And that's the link. Just simply search for Katie and Emil. You will find it. It's quite a unique name. Now, the question is, what do you want to achieve in life? Now, as much as there are many different answers to that, one of it which is interesting is financial freedom. From my experience, a lot of people think about financial freedom, but they don't necessarily have it as a goal where they actively work on it, or they have defined the strategy to achieve financial freedom. And this webinar is going to go into a little bit of more details to help you see if you would like to set up financial freedom as your life goal, to achieve financial freedom to do something else or continue doing what you do, but with the benefit of having all the money to cover your living costs. Questions for achieving the goal is, do you have everything you need to do? Do you have a realistic plan? Sorry about that. And is your actual progress aligned with forecasts? Now, next question is, do you believe you can achieve it? My personal experience is, as much as I wanted to be financially free, there was something within myself on a kind of unconscious or even conscious level where I kind of didn't quite feel I can achieve it. It was kind of out there as an option, but not necessarily for me. Things have changed for me when I started to study it in depth and started to realize it's actually not that complex. It's actually fairly simple, but there are a number of different things that needs to be achieved, which is going beyond the comfort zone in many times. But what I like to do to change the beliefs, especially on an unconscious and conscious level, is to simply calculate it to get the facts. So a simple formula for financial freedom is income minus expenses are your savings, the investments value. So we assume that you will invest and get a return on investment. A profit will be your passive income. And then if passive income is above your expenses, then you are financially free. That is my basic definition of financial freedom. So the only thing to do in here is to go to every single part of this formula and then assess your own situation of where you are, so you get a clarity where you are, where you want to be. Now in the UK, so I'm not sure about US, average income in the UK after tax for a household is 35k, expenses 29k. I've made it up some of the figures, but I will assume that average savings is 6k. And average return on investment stock market is 10%. Based on this basic information, if someone saves 6,000, so whether it's dollars or pounds, on 10% after tax, it will take them 19 years to be financially free, excluding inflation. So if you've got expenses of 29k in UK, that's average, that would be 19 years. So it's quite a big period of time, but it's achievable within a certain period of time. And obviously, and total assets for this particular one after 19 years would be 300k. And that's only with a savings of 6,000. Now, financial freedom is a combination of income, expenses, savings, investment, and then financial cushion, which I think is also a very important aspect of it. So we need to look into all of these aspects to kind of get a good grasp of it. And this is what we have on the dashboard. So this is our key performance indicators. We need to look at the key take-home aspect, expenses, the savings aspects, the investments aspects, and passive income, and the financial cushion. Now, investments can make a lot of a difference. I was particularly surprised when I look at how much investments can make a difference, especially with the compound interest effect, which is very interesting to look into that. We will cover some of it. But unfortunately, 90% of people lose money on stock market, according to some statistics. I'm not sure how reliable it is. Obviously, investing on the stock market is very popular. On the other hand, 90% of millionaires invest in real estate. Obviously, there are different aspects to that. My personal goal is to actually invest in real estate as well, and the numbers stack up for me. And now investment is a combination of investment amount, the return on investment, and the durations. And those three aspects are very important, because you have to really understand how they interact with each other and how much difference they make, and then adjust those criteria to see what is it that you need to focus on when it comes to your financial freedom. For me personally, when I look at the data and look at those three aspects, it makes a really big difference in my perception of investments and how much I can get it. And it was good news, because it was less effort kind of and less time to achieve certain things than I had in my own head. So that was very positive. Now, a future value formula. This is the example of the 6K a year and 10% return on investments after tax. Future value formula is for every year you get the value 6,000 return on investments, and then each year you take your what you earn added to your investments, and you get return on investments plus return on investments over here. And you can see that after 19 years, you with 10% you have invested 114K yourself, but with the investments and reinvestments based on 10%, it actually grew to 306,000. So quite considerable, 30K after tax, and reinvestments are 192,000. Now, if we look forward, so for instance, if we've got a very young person at 20 years old, after 19 years it's almost 40, after another 20 years is 60 years old. But if someone started at 20 years old only with 6,000 savings a year, after 40 years it's 240 of your own investments. But look at this, the investments after doing reinvestments is 2.6 million, and this is where a big change occurs, because when I looked at it, I couldn't believe it. that is the first impression, is how can it grow so much? But these are the facts. So it's worth looking into future value formula and how it calculates things, because you may be surprised that what you thought the answer would be is not. And this shows us quite a lot of potential in here. You can see that after another 20 years, instead of 30K, it's almost 10 times more, 265,000 after tax, and with the reinvestments being 90% of it. So duration makes quite a big difference. Now, investments choices. Obviously, we've got simple choices like saving accounts, low return on investments, low risk, pension, employer contribution, which is very good, plus return on investment. So pensions are quite good if the employer contributes the same amount, because that kind of doubles it without any effort. Buying a house typically is a good idea, especially if you get a very good deal, because you repay it, so that's your savings, and property will typically increase on price, and they say 7 to 12 years it takes a property to double in value. Obviously there are exceptions to this rule, but that's usually a very good investment. And every investment has risks and requires knowledge to lower the risks. The question for you is, investments is usually the the easiest way to achieve financial freedom. So question is, what will you invest in? What return on investments can you realistically get? And all of that kind of starts with having the money to invest. There are strategies where no money is involved, where you get in other investors, but I'm talking about things where you invest your own money. And obviously, to get the money, we need to earn it. And one of the first KPIs, most important ones, is the take home. That's for UK. I've got, oops, didn't want to click that. There is a UK calculator for take home, but doesn't apply. But one of the things in here is worth looking at is a histogram. I'm not sure how many websites do a histogram of salaries, but in UK there is IT Jobs Watch that does it, which kind of clearly shows what the distribution of salary is, and it kind of gives you an idea of where you are and where you want to go, and shows us what the potential of the take home is. And average job salaries are also posted here. That's UK side, but I'm sure there are plenty of US as well. What I have done on take home, when it comes to analysis, what I like to do is compare the actual value against something. And in this case, very often we compare it against target. So we can come up with a target and compare it against target. But I also added potential. So the potential is, what is the potential if I kind of went through everything and reached the full potential of my income, and the target is, what is it that I actually want to achieve within a given year. So I find those two quite interesting. You can see on this particular sample, the potential is usually higher and the target is below it, but it gives me quite good impressions. You can also include future years for analysis and increase the potential. So if you do your market research and see what the potential is, you can increase this if you gain additional skills or get something, do something to achieve a higher income. Potential and target for permanence. So a good idea is to see where you are, where you want to be as a target, and what is your potential if you wanted to get a higher position. So for instance, what I would suggest to people, and I cover it in my book, A Career with Microsoft Power BI, is go to the websites, job boards, filter by the most paying jobs, and then see what the requirements of experience, skills are for these roles, and then see what is it that you need to do to kind of satisfy them. And once you satisfy them, obviously start applying for those positions in your region, locations you want to be, or fully remote, which is quite popular these days, and see if you can secure a highly paid job. Obviously, the jobs will vary. Some are good fit, some are less of a good fit, but typically this is not based on the salary itself, so it's a good idea to aim for more. If you've got the skills, you've got the experience, and you want to achieve it, then why not? For Contractor, this is the histogram for the UK. Again, the same situations. What is your actual, what is your target, and what is your potential? This shows Power BI. So we need to bear in mind that not all of these roles are Power BI developer, consultant, or analyst roles. Some of them are different roles. And I've recently done some analysis on how many of them are pure Power BI and developer and analyst roles, and posted it on LinkedIn, so you can check my posts. You will see a clearer picture of that. But interesting, if we look at the highest value, obviously it's in GBP. This is the distribution of it. So it's a good idea to do the same for your own country and see what is the potential that you can achieve within your market, and take home calculator for UK. Now let's cover investment scenarios. So this is what make a really big difference to me. So for instance, if we assume return on investments 10% after tax, 6K savings, it takes 19 years to be passive income of 30K. It takes 30 years to get 1 million in assets, and assets after 30 years is 1 million. So if we look at the increasing the savings without changing the return on investments, you can see that, for instance, if you save 30K a year, you're being financially free with 10% return on investment takes 8 years, 16 years to 1 million, and 4.9 million within 30 years. If we look at 50K, so for instance, in my case, I'm on a 50K savings. So 50K, in theory, I should be able to achieve financial freedom within 5 years, 12 years to 1 million. And after 30 years, if I live that long, 8.2 million, and then a bit more if you are in situations where you get more, or if it's a household. If, for instance, 100K is 3 years to be financially free, and 8 years to 1 million and 16.4 million after 30 years. But let's look at the 20%. So 20%, you can see that it's twice as much return on investments. And as you can imagine in here, the passive income is kind of half of it. So what is something what you would expect? The 1 million takes 20 years, but look at the what happens after 30 years. So the duration aspect, the long term, instead of doubling from 1 million to 2 million, it actually is 7 times more. And for me, that was surprising when I look at it. How can it be 7 times more if I only increase my return on investments by twice, by double? But it is actually 7 times more because you invest and reinvest, and that makes bigger and bigger and bigger difference every single year. So if we look at 50K on 20%, that means that I can be financially free within 3 years, and 9 years to 1 million, and after 30 years, not 8 millions, but 59.1 million. So you can see the return on investments makes a very big difference. And 20% after tax, from my investigations, is achievable, for instance, in property investments, especially commercial property investments. So it's doable, and that's what I'm aiming for currently myself. But the key thing in here is look at the 20% and see how it changes, especially the duration. It does make a big difference. Now, next, look at the expenses and the target. So what is important about expenses? Well, your spending potential is unlimited. No matter how much money you have, if you've got millions or billions, you can spend it very quickly. Work out your needs, control your wants, control budgets. So set your target, use tools like Pocketsmith, use separate accounts, control irregular spending. How do I do it? So I have dedicated card for my groceries, and I use UAccount, which is a very good account because I have 5 sub accounts online, and then when I have the sub accounts. Each of them is my category, so I send myself on a weekly basis from my main account to sub account, so I kind of proactively spend on the budget and it kind of grows. And then if I need to spend it, I need to log into the application, which is a bit of an inconvenience, but it's a good thing for me. Look at if I've got the budget, take out the money and then spend it. So it's a little bit inconvenient, but it does work brilliantly, because since I implemented it, I don't go over budget at all. I had to readjust some budgets, but it stopped me from going over budget. Next, we have savings and financial cushion. Now, why financial cushion? According to statistics, at least in the UK, 4.9 people are unemployed, 6% working adults are off work due to long-term illness, 90% of working age are disabled, 90% of people die before they reach retirement age. And how long can you survive on savings? Can you go with a disability, be out of work? So this is something what happened to me with schizophrenia. And it is a scary kind of experience, but it does happen. And is your family financially protected? For me, that was biggest personal hit to me, where I was in a situations where I could not afford. We had a small baby, and I could not afford to sustain my family. Fortunately, things have worked out for me. I recovered, got a job, and moved forward. But it was a really life-changing experience to sort out a number of things, including money. Now, what is important about savings? It helps to survive crises, set a target, are affected by inflations, a low-risk investment strategy. Financial cushion helps with unexpected expenses needed if you cannot work or are not paid, and credit cards and overdrafts can increase caution. I've used it myself to survive, and that was good for me. Long-term illness, 2 years with average household spending is 60K. So if someone saves 6K a year, which is not a lot, you need 10 years to cover long-term illnesses, which I find it a bit scary. Anyway, investments is the next aspect. So what is important about investments? There are a risk, you can lose money, can make a big difference, passive income plus reinvestment. So I showed you how even on 6K, after 40 years, it grew a lot to, I think it was almost 3 million, 2.5 million. So it makes a big difference. Key factors: investments value, return on investments, and durations. Those three is worth going through. I spent quite a lot of time going through the same thing over and over and over and over again until I felt comfortable with the data, because it's not quite intuitive, but it's very positive, because it's better than what I thought it is. Now, what is reinvestments? So what you earn on investments can be invested on top of the regular investments. That's what I call reinvestments, and this can make a big difference in the long term. So that's worth checking separately, the reinvestments impact on everything. And then we have passive income after tax. So what is important about passive income? Your money is working for you 24 hours a day. You can quit your job. You can buy time for yourself or family. Now, to lower the risks, you can have multiple streams of income, lower the risks. So for instance, if you invest in properties, which is what I plan to do, if I have 5 properties, I have 5 streams of income instead of a single one. So even if one goes away, I still have 4. Even if 2 goes away, which is unlikely, I still have 3. So obviously, there are certain risks, and you cannot say you cannot lose all of them, because you can, and COVID is an example where this can happen. So there is always a certain amount of risk. Now, how much? 30K a year is basic financial freedom in the UK. And that's the baseline for most of people. So let me show the dashboard. So this is the actual dashboard. You can input the data in here by going to transform data, and I've got instructions on the website how to do that. But this is an example of average household in the UK. So take home, potential, target. So you can see target is not being hit, potential is not being hit, but the expenses and target are quite close. And then a savings target is being hit, which is 6,000 a year. You can see that for the years I've done, for the 8 years in here or 9 years, it gives a cushion of 1 year and 9 months. So that means if there is no income, you can survive on the savings that you have for 1 year and 9 months. That's the investments. In the blue one, the reinvestments, you can see that's what I talked about, where it makes a big difference in the long term. So you can see it's increasing more and more every year. And you can see that after 18 years, it's more than the investments that you've made yourself. And you can see in here with this example, the basic financial freedom will be achieved starting in 2012, in 2028. And I've got some sample data which kind of show it. So obviously you can do it in different ways using different tools or Excel, but this one is quite simple to enter the data. You can see what it is for the 12 years, for the last 10 years, or how many years you've got. And do kind of quick analysis, digest the information for your own kind of situations. It's on a yearly basis, so it doesn't have to be spot on. It can be an approximate values, just to give you an idea of what it was. And just do the analysis. If you were to invest it in it, what would it be? Now, when I created the dashboard and I look at the data, one thing that hit me quite heavily was if I started what I knew now 10 years ago, I would have been financially free by now and be doing quite well. But I've missed 10 years of my life because I just didn't know about this. No one told me about it. No one talked about it, and there was no information about it. But when I actually look at the data and look at the financial freedom and look at the all the aspects, they are relatively simple. So it's not that it's complex topic. It's more that it's not being talked about too much by anyone because not many people achieve that, but I think quite a lot of people can visibly achieve it without too much problem. It's more just knowing that it's there and it's achievable. And obviously you have to put some effort to understand it, read some books, get some knowledge, validate the data, and take a little bit of the risk, because investments it has always a certain element of risk, but obviously if you invest in many different things, the risk is lower and lower. And I find myself that property investments is probably one of the lowest risks and highest return on investments that I could find. And third sample over here, I can't remember. Yeah, I think this one was quite close to mine, where I entered the data, which for savings, you can see it was terrible. But let's go back to the slides. And so that was the dashboard, and how to enter the data is the next one. So let me show you. So let me show you how to enter the data. I simply put the data in the file, Power BI file itself. So when you click transform data, go to the source of the financial data, click the cog. Everything is in here, so it's quite simple. You just put the take home, the year of the take home target potential, investments and reinvestments. This one is only done in the future from 2021, but you can put it in here as well. So up to you. Expenses, savings, expenses target, savings target, cushion in decimal as a year, and then sample data. So I have 3 samples data. You don't need all of it, so you can just delete it, or you can just enter it as the 4th option over here. Give it a unique name, and it will display on the dashboard. So the entry of the data is very simple. It's just a matter of going through your bank statements or tools that you use and work out what you have been entering, what the data is for the last few years, and just analyze it, digest it, kind of figure out stuff with it. Or figure out what is it that you are missing from it. Is it knowledge? Is it skills? Is it the fact that you don't want to invest? What is the reason for that? So obviously it's applying business intelligence principles. It's to life. So it's the same as you would be running a business. You have to make analysis, crunch data, and come up with decisions that will help you achieve the goal. Let me just move that. Okay. So what can you do with my dashboard? Obviously, you can fill in the data. You can think about increasing the take home. So for instance, have a look how increasing the take home on the dashboard or when you analyze the data would impact your goal. Be in control of expenses and savings. That's a key one to achieve. That was one of the first things I sorted out fairly quickly. Create a financial cushion. One of the things I've asked people before is how many of you would like to be financially free? Yes, everyone. How many of you plan to doing that? Yes, everyone, almost everyone. And then how many of you have a financial cushion of more than, let's say, 6 months? And not that many. And obviously it's a bit contradicting with the previous answers, because if you want to become financially free, you have to control your savings and expenses, and you have to create a financial cushion. And the financial cushion will grow and grow and grow, and it will have different aspects of it. The cash, what you invest, but it will grow and grow with time. So it's a very important one, and I feel very comfortable with having a financial cushion and having at the level of 2 years. For me, minimum is having 2 years of money, either cash or assets that I can sell quickly, like a car, but have at least 2 years of easily accessible money, and the rest investments where I can sell a property if I need to. But that's my strategy. So work out realistic investments, value and return on investments. Initially, I thought 10% would be very good, but now when I look at property investments and commercial investments, I think that 20% actually would be good. 25% is achievable, and I'm also looking into other aspects where it can be higher than that, and I will look into next year. So analyze the results, check progress on a regular basis. I personally checked my dashboard every single month. I still look at it every single month, even if it doesn't change. It's just a very good reminder of things. And then become financially free, which I obviously wish everyone who wants to achieve it will achieve it, because that gives us greater flexibility in life. And we can do everything that we want. So that concludes my presentations, and if there are any questions, I'm happy.